Oh, there's my camera.
Oh, I think.
That's not good. There we go. All right, we'll get started here in a couple of minutes. We'll give everybody a couple more minutes. We're a little early right now.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yes. And my brother keeps asking, how does it feel like to be bold?
Ah,
it's funny, a friend of mine, the lender was having like some issues and I was like doing all the stuff that like we learned in the class.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, like, you know, you need to like, 'cause he was kind of like frustrated with some business. I'm like, well, you have a lot of limiting beliefs going on here.
Yeah.
Like, let's turn those off and let's just go into the deal. What can you control?
Love it. You're using it.
So did you guys accept an offer? Good.
oh, did you accept that one?
Well, yeah, and we're waiting for, I changed it over to Stonegate, so we're just waiting for the updating contract to come back.
Nice, congrats.
Is there someone we know, like is it in the office?
No, it's being explained.
Caitlin, I'll go through this and then I'll make you the co-host here, like kind of the next half or whatever. All right.
Yeah, not all dicks, just.
All right, guys. Well, it's 10 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and jump in and get started. For everyone on the Zoom, everything that I've passed out and I'm kind of going to go over here, and I will be uploading into the drive, and I also have printouts. I print about 10 of everything so that you guys can grab them, but they're just examples of different things that you can bring to your open houses. So I don't know that it's something, because it's like branded to Caitlin, branded to Ken, the one that came from cross country. So I don't know it's something that you would need to have to use again because it's not branded to you. So we'll kind of go over that. And then, so thank you to Jeff and to Caitlin for joining me today. They're going to be co-hosting and kind of taking over. So I'm going to just run through a few things and then I'm going to have them kind of go over. And, you know, one of the reasons that I asked the two of them to join is because, well, two parts. I think it's helpful for people who are in coaching to see others who have been through coaching and how successful they are. I remember when I first started doing this, and I would have, well, in the very beginning, I didn't have any graduates of coaching and I wasn't sure where it would go. So I would just ask different agents around the office, which that's relevant too. But when I would have someone, I'm not going to name any names, but someone who sells $10 million a year, and they have for 20 years, I noticed that the crowd would look like, sure, they're doing that. Of course, they're doing that because of the fact that, you know, they've been doing this a long time. And so then that becomes a limiting belief to you, which is, I can't do that too, because they know what they're doing and they've had experience. So they're doing it better, and they don't tend to, the students then didn't do the things that the agents were doing. Does that make sense? Because you think those things are too big for you, that they're for teams to do, or it's someone who has more experience. And so I realized after several classes that I taught, when I had too big of agents, let's just say, coming and co-hosting, people didn't get the results from it that I was looking for. So I found, and I think this really just came from Dominate Your Week, really, the sharing of ideas within coaching with people that are in coaching also, or have graduated coaching. Then you guys sit there and think, whoa, so that's a person who's relatively new in the business and they're doing that and they're succeeding in that. So maybe so can I. Does that make sense? So I love that we always have so many fabulous ideas from so many fabulous agents in our program that we don't have to dip outside of that very often. So Caitlin and Jeff both are graduates of coaching, and they both get a lot of business from open house, and they're very successful in their open house, the way that they handle it. Because guys, open house is not just, okay, I'll volunteer. So I know a lot of you hear me say this in the chat. Who would like to host an open house for an agent? So let's talk about that for a second. We have a lot of agents here who have a lot of listings. And as listings start to pile up, meaning this, they don't sell in 2 days. We'll go back to having 5 listings at one time, or 20 listings at one time, or whatever it is. And I mean, that's a good thing, but the bad thing is this, is that you can't be as a listing agent in every open house, every house that you have open every Sunday or every Saturday. So they come to me and say, who you got? Who have you got that can host an open house for me? So when you see me, and I know you guys all know this, you hear me go in the chat and say, who wants to host an open house? I've got an agent who's asking. I find it interesting that a lot of people volunteer, and I think it's great that they do, and I want you to. But if you're not prepared to do it, then you shouldn't be saying me. And please don't take that the wrong way. I don't want people to be like, does she mean me? And I shouldn't ask. Here's the qualifications. I have at least approached or have visited an open house. I don't want it to be, I've never physically shadowed someone, because the shadowing opportunities doesn't always come up, but you have to find them. So that means that you can easily look online and see who in our office is hosting an open house. They probably put it on Facebook. Also, for newbie people, go on Facebook and start friend requesting. Everyone should be friends with me on Facebook. Everyone should absolutely be. If you're not, then you should be friend requesting me. I try to remember as I add people into coaching to go and search them, but I don't always do a good job of that. And also people use their middle name sometimes, and I don't know that. So definitely come and friend request me on Facebook. And then what you should look at is, who are my agent friends on Facebook? Who are the agents here in the office? Who are the agents at Living? Who are the agents at Elevate? And who are the agents at Legacy that you can be following? Because then you can see what they're doing on social media, and then you can create something similar for yourself. But also, girls, there's some papers in the back if you want to grab too. That's a great way of seeing who's hosting open houses. So you can call them and say, I saw that you posted that you were hosting open house on Sunday. Can I come shadow? So that's always a thing that you can do. But I don't want you to feel like you can't host an open house because you haven't shadowed one. Go out on a Saturday and a Sunday, team up with somebody and go just visit open houses. It doesn't have to be Keller Williams, and it doesn't have to be an agent at this office. Just go watch and see and visit open houses. Get comfortable being in houses that aren't yours. And walking around, there's nothing wrong with it. I never would mind if I was hosting an open house, if a random agent just said, hey, I'm just coming because I'm wanting to get an idea what open houses look like. I would never be offended by that. Or don't say, I don't care. Say you're a neighbor, lie, I don't care. In any case, what you do need, though, to be able to host an open house is a couple things. You have to have open house signs. Do not think that the listing agent, when they say, hey, I've got these 3 listings and they all need held open, it is not the listing agent's responsibility to provide you with open house signs. You should have your own open house signs. I use the example all the time. If you're, I don't know why, but I do. If you're a roofer, not that I've ever been a roofer, but if you are a roofer, if you don't have a nail gun, it's going to be a lot harder and it's going to take a lot longer to use a hammer. Right? Or you better not show up to work with no tools because the roof's not going on. So you are an agent, and some of the tools that you should have is a Supra key. That question keeps coming up a lot lately. If you don't have a Supra out there in agent world, you better get one. It's part of your dues, by the way. So I'm not sure why we still have issues with agents not having the Supra app. It makes no sense to me. You're paying for it, so you may as well have it. And you should have open house signs. And if you don't have open house signs because you just passed your test, that's okay. Just know when the opportunities come up to host opens, if you don't have open house signs, you're going to not be able to do it. Couple other tips, and then we'll kind of move on to some of the information that you can bring to open house. You should put up your open house signs on Wednesday, not Friday. So when you say, I'm going to list a house on Friday, I'm going to hold it open on Sunday, you're cutting yourself short and your sellers if you're putting up your open house sign when you put up your for sale sign on Friday. However, if that's the only opportunity because you didn't get the listing active until Friday, which I know some people like to wait to do, you can't put up an open house sign on Wednesday if it doesn't go active till Wednesday. I mean, till Friday, right? So, but when you have a listed property that is being held open on Saturday or Sunday, you should for sure have those open house signs up on Wednesday. Go ahead.
If you're just holding the open house for another agent, they're still responsible to put. open
They,
house.
they're not. So that's
You
what I'm
put
saying.
up Your name still?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So if I have a listing, let's just say this. I don't even own open house signs as a listing agent. Do you know why? Because I don't want to ever hold an open house again. That's terrible. Here's why. I work with sellers. I'm not really that interested in working with buyers anymore. And I haven't. I do because sometimes I'm forced to, meaning I listed and sold their house and now they're buying. But I'm not trying to market to buyers to work with, right? Will I work with past clients or referrals that are buyers? Of course. But if I'm at an open house, then I'm there to pick up buyers that I'm not interested in following up with. So that's why I don't even have open house signs anymore. So when I get listings and I say, hey, Tara, would you like to hold it open? I'm not going to go out and put up the open house signs, nor do I have them. So that's what I mean by you better get open house signs if you want to start being able to. And we're in a hot spring market now, timely. Things are going to get busy. We're right in the tip of the spring real estate market. So definitely, if you don't have open house signs, that's something to invest in because you can get a ton of buyers. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if I should have got some without my name on them because I wasn't sure.
So keep this in mind. So that's a great question. When a listing agent is asking someone to host an open for them, here's a couple of things. I get this question all the time. You're not there on the behalf of the listing agent or honestly, even the seller in some way. You're there to pick up buyers, to maybe sell that house. Does anyone know what the odds are that you're going to sell the house that you're at for an open house?
25%.
0.001.
Right.
Yes. So it doesn't happen very often. In my 25 years, it's happened to me one time. And I used to host an open house every Saturday and Sunday for probably 19 years. So one time. And in any case, that's not why you're there. You're there because you're trying to pick up buyers. And so therefore, if you're hosting an open house because my seller needs to know that their house is held open, because that's the other reason that we do open houses, because sellers think you're not doing anything to get my house sold. So they think that we're going to do the open house to sell it. Let them think that. That's okay. They can live in the lie of that their house is going to sell at open house. It's okay. It makes them think you're actively doing something for them, right? Probably in the past 2 years, though, I bet you if I look, those odds probably have increased just because of how fast this market has been. And buyers that are going to open houses just might be like, hey, Caitlin, I'm here. I love the house. Let's make an offer, because that's just what's happening in this hot market. So that probably has increased those odds more than usual. But what are the chances those people don't have an agent already? So you're still not being the one who's selling it, right? But definitely you're not giving that sign-in sheet to the listing agent. So let's mention that. I get that question a lot. Well, what do I do once I've done the open house? Who gets you're not there just for experience. You're there to pick up buyers. So you don't owe that list to anybody. It's yours. You own it. That's now building your database, which I would recommend that you add to your database with the tag met at open house. And then follow up accordingly. But, getting as much marketing out there as possible. Back in the day, we used to rely on signs and the Saturday paper. So in the Saturday paper, there used to be a real estate section, and it was filled with lots of very expensive ads for open house. Agents were spending $50,000 a year on print advertising to put their open houses in, and in color was a thing. So thankfully, that's not the case anymore. And you can get all kinds of creative with getting people to your open house, which is what Jeff and Caitlin are going to talk about. So any questions about any of that before I move on? We're going to talk a lot. They're going to tell you about preparation more than just that you have to have open house signs, but I just wanted to get that out of the way because I know that keeps coming up. So having open house signs branded to you Emily, to finish answering your question, is because you're the one who's there hosting it. So the sign-in sheet's going to be branded to you. The marketing materials that you pass out are going to be branded to you. So don't rely on feature sheets or marketing materials that the listing agent leaves. It should be yours, your sign-in sheet, your business card. You're there to pick up those leads. And
that's
good.
everyone in the market, everyone in this market center operates that way. There's
Mhm.
never been an agent that I've been able before. They're like, you're gonna use my signage or that. It's like, everyone is the same.
Okay, good.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some hokey person somewhere that thinks that you're doing it because I've asked you to do me a favor and I'll pay you $50 and I'm getting all the leads, but that's like, so not how we do it. So yeah, for sure. All right. So let me jump into a share screen here. And then I'm going to go over just a couple of things and then I'm going to turn it over to Caitlin and yeah. So bear with me here a second. Get my email to open. All right. First, I want to show you. You guys are on. Here we go. So we also partner with your lender, and in particular, I partner with Cross Country on this. And they can, if you let them know that you're hosting an open house. So I know that people can do this also in Breakthrough Broker has templates for open house, and Total Expert with Cross Country does as well. So this is something that Kate created for Ken on a listing of his that he was hosting open. So there's a couple of different things that you can bring. In this case, it's got a couple pictures of the house. It's got the address, some basic information, the price, a spot for notes, which is nice. So that way you can pass this out to the guests as they come in, and then they can walk around with possibly a clipboard to take notes on what they like and didn't like about the house. That will definitely help you stand out. By the way, when you're out, I'll be curious to know. So go in the chat and tell. So when you're out at open houses, just kind of visiting, I would love to know the good and bad habits that you see. And trust me, there's just as many bad as good. And can't we learn from other people's bad habits? Like, aren't I going to walk into an open house and see an agent standing in the kitchen, leaning over going, hi, I'm here in the kitchen. If you need anything, please let me know. And they just stand there. And like, I have to imagine that that's the most uncomfortable feeling, just standing there like a frozen person. Like, I feel much more comfortable talking. Haha, obviously. So I'm very uncomfortable with silence. And I especially would feel very uncomfortable if someone comes into a house that I'm hosting and all I have to say is, hi, I'm in the kitchen if you need anything. No, you're not getting business like that. And by the way, how do you know that the people walking through that say this, I'm just a neighbor, that mentally they don't even know it, but somewhere in their subconscious, you're being interviewed as an agent potentially. And who's hiring the agent that says, I'm here if you have questions? That's not the agent I want. That's not somebody who's going to work really hard to try to get the right questions asked. So the questions are, by the way, use the LP Mama script. It was actually designed for phone calls, but also for open house. So this house is in Canton. Is that the location that you're looking, and you just roll right through it? So a good idea is to have a clipboard for yourself with a stack of LP Mama scripts, if you don't know it in your head, and then you can be writing the answers to their questions down. Then they start feeling like you're interviewing them and that you actually are an agent who cares about what they're looking for, right? In any case, I love this idea here that they can be walking around writing down their notes, because maybe they're going to go to 5 open houses today and they won't remember what they liked and didn't like about it. And then they're going to keep this because your information's on it. So that's great. They might ditch your business card, but they might keep this because they took their notes on it. So here you can see this is co-branded with Jessica and Ken. go back to the other.
Maybe
one.
just get that by like email Kate. or-
So yep, you can email Jessica or Kate, like again, giving them enough time. There's that whole Wednesday preparation thing. For me, Wednesday is if I'm hosting an open house on the fly, if I have to, of course, you're just not going to be able to get the materials and things that you need. You're not going to be able to get open house signs up quickly. But if you want to be there and have 30 people come through, you need to have your signs up as soon as possible. You need to reach out to them as soon as possible to get them to make sure they have time to make this for you. So it's, yeah, as soon as you know would be great. Here's another example that she sent over. And this is a neighborhood report going over some stats in the area. It also gives some information about businesses and restaurants and hiking and anything that might be relevant for that area, which is a great little thing to give out as well. So this is like the next page. As you can see, it goes right into the other inside photos. So this is not a separate flyer. This is just like the next page, which is then branded. And
Gina, I have a quick question.
yep, go ahead.
As far as, feedback that you're receiving from those that are going through.
Uh-huh.
Is that something that you would put as a separate sheet and just, I don't want to hound them, but I want to know, like, is
Yeah.
the price reasonable? What
So
features are
on
good,
your
bad?
LP mama that you're creating for each person that comes in, you've got your sign-in sheet, but there's just no room on a sign-in
Right,
sheet to write
exactly.
what they said.
Yeah.
Let me also give you a tip while I'm speaking of sign-in sheet, because I'll forget when we get to the next topic, is this: sign in the first line.
Yes.
Write something on the first line and fill it out in its entirety. Here's why. I've tested it. Like I'm stupid like that. But it's a monkey see, monkey do society. If one person leaves off their phone number, then everybody else will too. It's mind blowing to me, and I've tested it. So even if the first three fill out everything and then one person leaves off their email address, when they leave, write in a fake email address and make a note to yourself that you wrote that there. Because then what'll happen is everyone signs in, one person leaves one thing off, and then everybody else does the same. It's mind blowing to me. I had someone go to Hondros career night recently, and the sign-in sheet, every single person wrote terribly sloppy. It almost looked like the same person signed in on every single one of the lines. And I'm certain that the first person that signed in did it very sloppy, and then so did everybody else. And I think it's because they wanted to make it look like they were signing in, but they weren't giving clear information. So just, that's one of those things. So like bring a couple extra sign-in sheets so that you can avoid the people that throw it off for you that way. But I usually then will write notes on the back, like number 3 is a fake email address kind of a thing. So that's a tip on that. But if you have a clipboard with LP mamas or something that you can write on, that's where I would put that they liked the white kitchen and they liked that it had a fence in backyard, but they preferred it to have a finished basement.
So is that something that you would do, instead of doing like an actual feedback form that you leave there for them to fill out? Like on the tape, you know what I mean? Like.
So you're saying feedback on the house for them to fill out for their self as they're walking through, to
Yeah,
leave
well,
for the seller, is that what you mean?
just so I know, like going back into it and, you know, if the listing agent wants some feedback, well.
Chances are they're not gonna fill it out.
Okay,
So that's what I would say about that. So I've seen those, go ahead.
I take notes.
Yep.
So like,
Yep,
if I have like a blank sheet of paper and a clipboard, and then I'm writing notes like too high, bad floor plan. It looks like a California foundation, like things that everyone is saying. If it's all over the place, it's different, but like, you know, there was this one listing, like, hey, we got the same feedback, it's overpriced, they can't move past that foundation,
okay.
kind of thing. But I'm writing notes, that's part of the not following. You're engaging with the person at the open
Right,
house. It's
right.
part of the conversation you're having. Hey,
Yeah.
you like business master? Awesome. Look, you got a fireplace and you have a sliding door to go out to the backyard if you want some fresh air when your kids are driving you crazy. Like, does that come up? And it's just, that's what I do. I think
Okay.
that's what you're looking.
did you have a question, Ashley?
Yeah, I was just gonna go off of that. Something that we do is we give them the clipboard when they're coming in, and it's a combined sheet. So it's a feedback and it also has their name to capture their information. So when they're walking around the house, they're circling, rating from 1 to 5,
Right.
price, floor plan, that kind of thing. And then at the end of the open house, they're giving us back the clipboard.
Hmm.
And then we can ask questions, make sure the information's there. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
That was the sheet
Yeah.
that I was kind of like.
Imagining.
couldn't think of, but was the 1 to 5 rating
Yeah.
system, yeah.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
can just design one in Canva, 1 to 5 rating.
Right.
Put the name, email.
And there's no right or wrong, whatever works for you. In addition to that, though, I would be taking notes too.
Right.
Because some people just, I'm sure there's people that put it down and don't fill it out.
Yeah.
But I'll say again, it depends on how you greet them at the door. If you greet them, introduce yourself, shake their hand, and then say, here's a clipboard. Would you mind signing in and answer the questions because my seller loves your feedback?
And then still
yeah.
asking the follow-up questions, they might rate price at 2, ask why and make
Yeah.
those notes.
For
Right,
sure.
okay.
So I'd be doing both, honestly,
Okay.
because that way you can give, and so that as for giving feedback to the agent, since we're talking about feedback, it's not your responsibility to call the seller unless it's your seller. It's your responsibility to call the listing agent and give them the feedback. And here's what they want to know. How many groups of people, not how many bodies? You know, how many groups of people came through and what was the overall, feedback?
Mhm.
And so you're giving that to honestly, I don't even leave the house without giving the feedback. Turning off lights and locking doors, that kind of thing. Also, guys, don't keep the door locked. I know that someone's gonna shoot me for saying that because someone's gonna be, something's gonna happen, but I don't know how you can be at an open house and rely on someone knocking on the door and unlocking it every time. There's people, yes. So here's what I would say. I have a criteria of where I'll do open houses and what price range. And I don't care who has a problem with it. I'm not doing open houses in a vacant house. I'm not doing open houses in particular locations or price ranges. I'm not. And you're running a business and we're selling a product. And it can be whatever that is. And I'm not saying I'm only doing luxury real estate. 150 is a great price range to do open houses. So, but you can, if I don't feel safe, then I'm not going there to do the open. So,
Please say, like, I'm not doing that.
well, you just don't offer to do it. But if it's a
Okay.
listing of mine and they ask for open house, I just simply say, oh, we don't typically do open houses in this area. You're 2 acres off the road. It's not just neighborhood, it's other details. It's you're on 2 acres and you sit far back. There's just no way.
Would you say most people are realistic too? Like,
Of
if they
course.
have a downtown Canton, $80,000 house, it's a month, they're not expecting you to hold it open.
Listen, you're not selling that product, so I wouldn't have that in my listing packet about it anyway. It's kind of like, am I offering the same thing to everybody?
I
Yes
also-
and no.
The conversation I have too is, when you want pre-approved buyers with their agent who come, like scheduling a showing and coming through,
Right.
those buyers are way more serious than the nosy neighbors that are just gonna peek their head in.
Yes.
For an open
They're
house. So-
scripting around the client who
Yeah.
asks you to hold their house open, that you know that you're not going to, without just saying, oh, you fall into that category of houses I'm not holding open, sorry, that kind of a thing. But there's a lot of things about it, like, we don't have a lot of vacant listings right now. Have I held houses open that are vacant before? Yes, because 10 years ago, it was nothing but vacant listings, so we had no choice. But I'm not really interested in doing that. No one's coming home. And the people coming in the open house know that then, and so when I get there early, I always am turning on all of the lights. Guys, don't be lighting candles in open houses. You want to be responsible for someone's house burning down. If I go and the seller has been lighting candles, I blow them out. I'm not going to be the last person in the house that has candles burning at all. Please feel free to bring music, but make it appropriate to what you're doing. Like, I know, Zarice had his house party and his music was appropriate for a house party open house that he recently did. And then you could, of course, bring snacks if you want to. I don't know if that's necessarily something that you need to do, but we can talk more about that. I feel like we're getting off track. So anyway, all right, moving on. Here's just another thing that he's got as a flyer that he's included, which is just a feature of the house. And then here's just an example of a sign-in sheet that he uses that's co-branded with Cross Country as well.
Can I give another example?
Yeah.
Something else with feature sheets, if you have Boomtown, it's great to link the listing from your Boomtown account to a QR code. That's
Oh,
another
great.
great way to capture information, because it's going directly then, and once they scan it into Boomtown.
Perfect. I love that. Did you guys all hear that? A QR code. If you are in Boomtown or you have Boomtown, will go right in, or just even your hashtag to your website should be on there too. Caitlin, I'm gonna let you come up and then I'll let you, just so you can talk about the couple of things you've got here. All right. And we'll just
All right.
scroll.
Do you want me to share my screen or? 'cause I
First,
have
let's
other-
go through what you have and then we'll
Okay.
jump into that.
Okay. Hello, I'm Caitlin, if you don't know me. So me and Jeff were talking about how to think about an open house, and we were thinking there's a lot of prep to do before. So we kind of think about it, and Gina has really good resources about this in the drive too, about
Yeah.
what to do before, during, and after an open house. And I'll be honest, I made the mistake when I was new, just thinking, oh, you just like pop a sign in the ground and like show up and that's it. But it's not. There's a lot. Open houses are actually a lot of work, and if you do it right, like you don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste 2.5 hours on a Saturday or a Sunday to not get anything out of it. So do the work. But
Do you have this on your screen?
yeah,
No, I'll just let you
Yeah,
share.
it's on my screen.
Here's what I'm gonna
I
do.
have some
Let me
other
back
stuff.
up. I'm gonna have you come up so that you guys can do this together.
Okay. that
Let me
works.
just go out of here. Let's see. I'm gonna stop share
Okay.
and I'm gonna make you a co-host. Sorry, guys, I'm switching gears on you here. Make co-host. All right, so I'll let you do the share screen.
Okay.
And my face is much too big on that screen of yours.
All right.
All right, so I'll let you come sit here and then you'll be on camera there and then you guys can kind of just toggle back.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, let's talk about like before the open house.
Let's let Jeff introduce himself.
Okay, who are
So
you?
I'm Jeff. So I've been an agent for like 1.5 years now. And yeah, that's me.
So yeah, before the open house, if you have time in this market, because like houses are going really quickly, I make a binder and it has all of your resources that a buyer would want. So all those resources out there, that's exactly what I would have out at an open house, especially, have something with your lender for sure, because there are going to be people who come through that they're not pre-approved and they're like, oh, because if they're thinking 5 years ago, we have a week, we can like go home and think about this and take a week to get a pre-approval. They don't understand the urgency behind it. Like get pre-approved and get your offer in. So I make a packet, and this is just through Canva. Just with some details and features of the house. And I have that present in the listing, in the home, so people can just like flip through it. Because they're gonna ask you about the updates too. So they want to know how old is the roof, and they're gonna ask all those questions. So what are some of the things you do before an open house?
So before I definitely check out the property disclosure form. So I know if there's like something that's gonna come up left and right. I will then also go through the property picture, so I have an idea of like, if it's not my listing.
Mhm.
And then before other things I do is I connect with the agent. So like, if like, I'll be like, hey, Caitlin, what's the action on this house? Do you have offers right now, so that you can just sound informed when people are coming through? Hey, we're gonna do highest and best tonight by 7 o'clock. So if you like it, let's get serious and have a conversation. Hey, when you go downstairs into the basement, you're gonna see this crack. I've talked to a foundation guy. This is what he says about it. If you would like his contact information, like here's his business card kind of thing. Just knowing the property. I think like when I was new, I would just put a sign that said open house this way. I'd get there 5 minutes before and I would wing it. And
Yeah.
then like now it's like, I left, like now I'll leave like an hour before, like
Mhm.
just get there. I don't want to be rushed in any way. And I want to see what the property actually looks like. If it's not my, this is all for not my listings, obviously, like I know the property if I'm listing it. But just kind of like getting very familiar, like finding the things you like what you think other people will like and pointing out those. Even if the house is rough, like your job is to sell that house. Finding the positives, like, oh, this house has so much natural light. Like and pointing, oh, look at this amazing open floor plan. And when you redo this kitchen, you could knock out this and it opens up this even more and kind of just having ideas so you can sound like it's yours and you know it.
I'm just gonna add just one little side note about that. With the open houses that I've done, actually all of them, obviously with permission of the owner. Yeah, doing just a small snippet on Facebook stories for an open house, just highlighting 2 things. If
Mhm.
you wanna see the rest, come on over to so-and-so.
That's a good idea.
123 Street
Yeah.
and check it out. But just to pique the interest a little bit.
Mhm.
So, and with video, I mean, you're capturing so many people, like so many people just love videos.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll talk a little more
Yeah.
about that too, but preparation up front and then at open house too. There's a lot that you need to be doing. I mentioned the signs, but I want them to tell you what they do to get people to the open house also, but that's also another way too.
Okay, so I think I have to go back and share a different screen.
But she's doing that, like going back to the where to market it is like you should be a part of a lot of Facebook groups, like buy, sell, Stark. Like if you're Jackson Township, those are places you can share to get interest. Because like I had no action on this listing I had up in Akron and I started sharing it on like Summit County pages and 3 different people showed up to the open for that. And one of them became the buyer.
So marketing, it's not only like preparing yourself, knowing the details, knowing all the updates, having a good gauge of like the seller and how much action the house has had. It's marketing. So who in here uses Command or Command campaigns? Okay. So this is a campaign that I ran for a house in Uniontown. And it was actually marketing the open house. And what I found is like short, condensed campaigns, like a 3 or 4 days. So if your listing goes live on a Wednesday and the open house is Sunday, run an ad from Wednesday to Sunday, spend $30. Like I think I spent $45 on this for 4 days. And I'll show you. So I just have photos of the house.
You can move the Zoom screen across the top. if you
Oh,
want.
okay. I think it's in.
There you go.
Okay. So open house Saturday, January 7th. Sometimes people don't realize where it is and they'll ask for an address because it's kind of weird. It doesn't actually like show the address. So definitely have your address in the description. Put that open house out there, add as many images as you can, and then your information. And then on the Facebook settings, make sure you get, you direct them when it says learn more, it takes them to your website, your Keller Williams website. And then they will fill out this Facebook lead generation form, which gets you all their information. So this one ended up getting me like 46 leads or something crazy like that. And it was just a 4-day marketing thing. So then you can also assign them to a smart plan for the follow-up. So you're kind of, hey, even if this house wasn't the right house for you, how can I help you find the right house for you?
So what's great about that is they maybe didn't even come to the open house.
Right.
Now she's got their information.
Right. And like probably 2 of them, 1 or 2 of them actually came out of those 46 or whatever people. So then getting them set up on a smart plan, I have it send them a text. I find personally that people respond to texts more than they will calls, and if they're not interested, typically they'll just say, thank you, but I was just looking. And I say, okay, but it still runs through the smart plan anyways. So it's telling them that information about the open house again. And then and then it sends them an email about the open house. Thank you for your interest. Click here for more info, and it takes them to my website. So really utilizing Command or whatever CRM you're using to like run those ads. It takes a minute to get comfortable with it, but if you're not comfortable with it, just ask Lynn. Lynn helps me with all my stuff, and her and I will spit ideas back and forth. Hey, what do you think is better? You know, a whole week and $25 or 3 days and $25. And it's typically like the shorter amount. So along with Command, somebody said Facebook, definitely, utilize Facebook and the community groups. And you know, sometimes you're going to get your post taken down in those community groups, whatever, do it anyways. Doesn't matter. So have all the information for your listing. I put all the pictures on Facebook because people want to see those photos. And then 38 shares. This one got 38 shares. And I go through every share and say, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. If somebody on Facebook tags a friend, hey, my friend Jeff is interested, I'll message them, and I have a general message that I send. Hey, I saw that you were interested in my listing. Are you working with an agent? And I kind of like start the LP Mama script on Facebook. So I get a lot of leads from Facebook too. You're just going to want to keep updating this. So this house, I had 2 open houses. And I just edited the post and changed the information because so many people were already looking at that post. So we had a Twilight open house, and then, you know, it wasn't sold. So the next week we had another open house, and then it sold after that.
Can you
So-
explain what a Twilight is for those who don't know?
Yeah. So this one was really fun, actually. Twilight open house is like usually during the week from 5 to 7, 5 to 6:30 at night. Just a side note, if I always recommend having another person there with you if you're going to do Twilight, just because
And
it's
now
dark.
it's better though. Like I wouldn't do it necessarily in January, but
Yeah.
now since it's like, I think last night it was 10 to 8 and it was still kind of light out.
Mhm.
So
Right. Yeah.
it's better.
I still, you know, even if it's vacant, if it's something that you're like, oh, I want to have an open house, but I don't know if I'm comfortable, like get a friend, get your lender. Your lender will definitely come. So for this, we did a Twilight open house. My lender brought like a bottle of wine, and we gave people glasses of wine, which made them stay longer because they had to finish their wine.
Ask the seller permission.
Yeah. The seller said,
Serve alcohol.
have fun at your party tonight. But yeah, you know, we gave them a glass of wine. They walked through the house. The lender's in the dining room. I'm in the kitchen, and we're having 2 different conversations. So it's just another touch. Somewhere like, okay, that lender is in a different part of the house. So just for safety reasons too. But that was really fun. We got leads through that. And there's some people ask like, what if they don't sign in? Like, do I force them to sign in? Then I feel like we're moving towards like the during, like the
Mhm.
whole goal of the open house is to make a connection with that person. So you want to talk about
Yeah,
making a
so
connection?
the person who doesn't want to sign in, I don't badger them into that right away. What I do is try to offer like my value in going around the house. So like, we'll talk about, you know, the house and, oh, look at the new floorings that's recently updated, and look at the size of these rooms, and, oh, like you guys are a couple looking to downsize. This is a non-load bearing wall. You could turn these 2 small rooms into 1 big room. And kind of just talking to them, engaging them like, oh, where are you moving from? What are your reasons? Okay, cool. Hey, I noticed you didn't sign in, by the way. Can I just get your name and your number, and I'll do the follow-up. You don't have to do anything, kind of thing. But it's offering your value and not just like standing in the kitchen. Like,
Let me also add this. This is what I always say, the seller requires I ask everyone to sign
Yeah.
into their home. So use the word home and not house.
for starters and everything. It's not house, it's always home. And when you say the seller requires, when you're entering their home that you sign in, I mean, listen, is it gonna hurt their hand to write a fake name like the,
Mhm.
so like,
I pain, just sign it.
yeah, like I rarely have had someone give me a hard time about it, and I would assume by now, and I don't do them anymore, but. Like, it's expected that you're gonna be
Mhm.
asked to sign in, like, it's no big shock
Yeah,
about that, but also this too, and I don't know if you guys do this or not, I know some agents do. It's a great way to get everyone to give you clear, correct information if you do this. Going to be giving out a $25 Amazon gift card, because you'll be entered into a drawing
that's a good
if I
idea.
have all of your information. And people love, I don't know what it is, $25 lousy dollars, I mean, it could be $5 Starbucks gift card and people are.
I'd still do it.
Or pays for your shit.
And the way you save
$5 would get
yourself
you
from
full
buying
drink.
everybody a gift card is you'll be entered into a drawing at the end of the night. And if you like me on Facebook, I'm gonna reveal the name at 8 PM tonight on Facebook Live, and then that gets them to like your page. And then you have to be in attendance to get it or something to that effect.
Mhm.
And you can have that little tiny disclaimer on there where, otherwise they might be like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that, so they don't sign in. So shrink that disclaimer. Right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
The one thing I was also gonna say is like Gina mentioned, like you fill it out properly on the top line. I learned not to use celebrities' name. Like one time I put Jim Tressel and his email was Pete Bucks and like his phone number was something. And someone was like, ah, Jim Tressel's been here. And then they wrote down a fake name. And also like put like John Davis.
Been there.
Yeah.
you,
Um,
no, it was.
So that was just one that, but like, so just make sure you do that. And then while you're there, you should have like something I think to give, like I bring water bottles. I have cold water and then I like, and so that's part of getting there early is I throw them in the freezer. And then I'll have room temperature water because I know people are crazy, but you're offering something. And then you're also showing that person just through that like you're intellectual, you think about like things. But nobody wants to go to an open house where you're just, here's a flyer, sign in, and like, go look at the house, let me know what you think.
Mhm.
Engage, offer them something, like
Yeah.
you said.
Fun fact, me and Jeff both worked at Starbucks
Mhm.
and together actually.
Super fun, it's like we're both here.
So like the whole thing with Starbucks is like, it's not just coffee, it's a connection. And that's what it is at an open house too. Like your whole goal at the open house is to make a connection. And if like some people are talking about taking notes, like sometimes I take notes on my phone, family with 2 kids looking in lake or whatever. So when I reach back out to them, I'll say, it was so nice to meet your family. You know, I know you're trying to get in before school starts, whatever. And then just try to remember something about them too, because
Ugly red sweater, like.
Mhm.
yeah, I loved your Christmas sweater, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Do you try to get the
So-
names too, like if it's like a family, I'll try to get the kids' names. And then engage the kids the next time, like, hey, Johnny and Susan, like,
Well, whatever you can do to make that connection so that they know you're not just like a weird house selling machine or like a lot of people come into the open house with like, I don't need an agent. I don't want an agent. Don't talk to me. And that's how they view you until you're like, oh, hi, Johnny, I love your shoes or whatever. So try to just like be a real person. And then whenever you reach back out to them, yeah, they're on the smart plan, but you can give them a call and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you. I know you were talking to the lender about getting pre-approved. Have you had a chance to do that? And you have something to go off of. So I also treat it like every person that's coming through, you're having a mini buyer consult with them because you might not ever see them again, but you might. So if you have my little like buyer packet, I have those little brochures. That's my buyer packet. It's just a brochure because I don't think people are going to read 25 pages. So that's my buyer packet. And I give those, you can even bring a folder and say, hey, it was so nice to meet you. Keep me in mind if you're looking for your home, like in your home search in the next couple months. And that way they can at least walk away and read something. But I don't focus too much on like, honestly, don't focus that much on the house or like trying to sell them or pressure them. I just try to make a connection, give them my information, and then I talk more details when I follow up. do you have any?
No, just on the connection, like you can find something in common with anyone.
Mhm.
That's something like I learned at In and Out, as we talked about former employers, was like, we have something in common. So like, whether it's someone wearing like, you know, a Cavs jersey, like, hey, oh, did you watch the game last night? Like,
Mhm.
oh, or that trade. There's something there, like, or oh, I like your shoes. Like, just find something that complements them, that gives a connection, that kind of starts a conversation, so that like, yeah, you're not just, oh, look at this beautiful home. Don't you think it's priced perfectly? And let's make an offer. Like,
Mhm.
find something in common and build off of that.
Well, and Gina talks about like, when you're doing a showing, don't just say, oh, and look at the kitchen. How do you like the kitchen? Is that enough cabinet space for you, counter space? And you're asking those, like, if you were doing a showing, you're asking those same questions at the open house. Hey, how did the upstairs look? Were the bedrooms big enough for you? Could you see yourself, you know, what would you use this room for? Like, try to ask open-ended questions. Do you guys do anything differently during the open house, or anything to add? Yeah.
I would say for prep, something that we just started doing, and we're seeing some good return from it, are door hangers. So
Yeah, thank you
we're
for bringing that up,
inviting,
yeah.
we're inviting neighbors.
Nice.
Why neighbors? Because nosy neighbors do come. It affects the value of their home. They might know somebody that wants to move. So depending on the neighborhood, we do 10 to 25. And we are starting to do a half hour before. So if it's 5 to 7, they're coming at 4:30.
Hmm.
And this was just made on this Vistaprint.
Nice. I like that.
Elaborate on that. So when are you passing those out?
So we are passing them out when we are going out and putting out the open house.
Exactly.
signs.
So they're doing a sneak peek for the neighbors 30 minutes before the open.
Oh, I
So
love
it's
that.
something special for the neighbors, and so they don't have to feel like, oh, I feel weird going.
I don't wanna
or I'm
waste your
gonna
time.
Sneak into that.
Nope, so open house, you're invited to join me at, we write the address, neighbors only exclusive at whatever time. And then in your neighborhood, this puts the day and the time.
They
and we
put it
just
up on
attach
the-
our business.
They add it, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You don't have to ask the fellows permission to invite people. They're assuming that you're.
I think
yeah,
they know that we're going ahead of time,
Yeah.
like a half hour before. But I mean, Jess just had one that turned into a lifting appointment, so.
Yeah,
there
exactly.
are
That's awesome.
some Things coming out of it.
Actually, can you add that, will you email that to me so I can add it to the Google Drive as an example too? So a lot of things that you can be doing to get people there, that's definitely one of them. And it is inviting people for little special things. Also, guys, let me just say this. I talk to a lot of agents all the time, and a lot of very successful agents, and a lot of very successful agents that are new. All the time. I have endless conversations with people. I'm talking to people that are at other companies, trying to get them to transfer, so many scenarios. And here's one common thing that I keep hearing. And then pop it back. Is this. They are doing open houses, not just, write this down, you're gonna be shocked when I say it. They are not just doing open house once or twice a week or a month. They are doing an open house every Saturday and every Sunday. Not, on my GPS, I'm gonna host an open house once a month or twice a month. Successful agents who are really growing their business with listings and with buyers, they are doing an open house every Saturday and every Sunday. I keep hearing that over and over and over again. And let me tell you, they aren't coming to me and saying, who you got? They're using their own creative mind, and like I said, friend request all these people and go out there, and we've got 287 agents here, guys, and they have listings. If you go on the MLS, they're on your dashboard, there's a little box in there that says your listings, incoming listings, and then your office listings, and all of the active listings for our office are on there. And so you can search that and say, oh, so-and-so has a listing over near my neighborhood. Maybe I'll reach out and say, hey, does your house over on whatever street, would they like to have it open? Don't just wait for me to put those few opportunities in the chat. Find a way to be able to do it, because I can tell you this, the agent in particular that just told me she does one every Saturday and every Sunday, she doesn't have 25 listings. So she's going out there and she's finding listings to host open. I'll also give a little shout out to Brendan, who wanted to break into the luxury market. And so when I saw his Facebook Live or his video, maybe it was a reel, when he was in some $1.2 million house up in Akron, that is not his listing. And it's also not a Keller Williams listing. He called a random agent from another company and said,
Nice.
hey, I'd love to break into this market. Any chance it would be a benefit to you or your seller if I did a video there and then posted it? And so they said, sure. Yeah, like we
cool.
put our listings on the MLS for a reason, because we're sharing our listings with everybody. So why would anyone ever be like, no, you can't video and market
Yeah.
my listing?
Mhm.
I only know of one agent who's ever told me no.
Yeah.
Everyone else is share, share, share. And like
Mhm.
going back to the door hangers in the neighborhood, like whenever we see a listing go up in our neighborhood, we're always telling our friends. And I think that's something like we don't value enough, is like your neighbors are going to tell other people, and that's going to get your name out. So don't shy away from it. But like, don't also think, like going back to the open houses every weekend, like open houses don't have to be a 3-hour open house. Like hosting 1 to 2 is
Mhm.
perfectly fine.
That's right.
You go, you get there half hour early.
Most people are gonna show up in the first half hour,
Yeah.
40 minutes anyways.
Yeah.
I used to do 2 every Sunday, so I didn't have to do them on Saturday. So I did back-to-back opens, make them somewhat close together so I can get from one to the other. And I did like a 1:30 to 2:30 and a 2:30 to 3:30 or something like that, or I guess not 2:30 because I had to drive there. So there was a 15-minute in between or something like that. But to that point, there's no reason to sit at one house for 2 hours. Absolutely no. They will come when the open house is at. And, you know, honestly, if my door is locked and I've turned off the lights and somebody shows up 10 minutes after the time, it just depends on where I'm going, what's happening. Like, I just I can't tell you that I would always go back in with someone who comes 10 minutes late. Now, the seller might not be happy about that if they saw on their ring that you left and somebody wanted to go back in, so be cautious of that. But, they will come during the time, I guess is what I'm saying. So, and then if they do come late, that's okay. Let's schedule an appointment for tomorrow and I'll come back and show it to you, kind of a thing.
Mhm.
Always I'm going to another appointment, not my family's waiting for me. And by the way, guys, we're not human that way. I promise you. My daughter, on her wedding day, I told clients and agents that I was, you know, out of commission for the day. And I still had people calling and texting me saying, I know that it's your daughter's wedding day, but.
Can
LOL.
I see the house real quick?
Not kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they just don't care. So the
Mhm.
answer is not, I have something personal going on ever. It's always, I gotta get to a listing appointment. Always, always, no matter what. I don't care if it's 10 o'clock at night. It's always, I'm going to a listing appointment.
Something I was gonna say too is don't expect just to get buyers at your open houses, because I got a listing appointment out of this open house. So like, be prepared. If you have, I have a little brochure for buyers and for sellers, and I bring them both because a lot of people have to sell to buy, or, you know, most people, you know, not everyone's renting or a first time home buyer. So be prepared to have both those conversations. So like, I guess if you're gonna take one thing away, be prepared, get your packets ready, learn command, know how to do a smart plan. Yeah, that's my advice. Do you
Yeah,
have any?
don't show up just with business cards, guys.
Mhm.
I'm not saying you're wasting your time, but your time is valuable, and if you're gonna be doing it at an open house, back to the putting your signs up as early as possible and then marketing it on social media, you don't have to pay for the ads. You can just post it and share it. And maybe even do a little deal with your friends and family. For everyone that I know on Facebook that shares my post, I'll enter you into a drawing for a $5 gift card. Like, you just never know how you can get people, or tag a bunch of people in it too. But if you're gonna spend your time and you want leads out of it, you have to be able to be prepared at that. Imagine that you walk in and they just say, hey, I'm here, ask any questions that you want, and if you don't mind signing in, and then they hand you a business card or a simple feature sheet. Why are you there? Really?
Mhm.
And be consistent on that. Like I was at an open house. I went in and introduced myself, said, hey, you know, I'm Jeff from it was someone from our market center said, hey, I'm Jeff from the market center. I'm in Gina's productivity coaching. We're going around, we're playing a game, just go to the most open houses. One of the agents left me alone. And then I was like, okay, well, I actually have a buyer, but, and then another person came in and said, I had an agent, she left them alone. Another person came in and said, oh, I'm a buyer, I don't have anyone. And that's the person she followed with. So she turned off the person, because I heard them talking to each other, the person that she didn't engage in because they had an agent. Like, you're still selling your home, like
They're
be,
probably lying.
be consistent.
Yeah, they're
Be,
lying.
be consistent, yeah, and yeah, Gina said it a million times, like everyone lies about having an agent, like I always ask, oh, who is your agent?
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
I
oh,
can't
it's
remember.
Billy Bob from Coldwell Banker. Oh, okay, and like, a lot of times they'll be like, it's someone from your brokerage, okay, who? Okay, it's Sam Holmes, okay, I know her really well. So I can,
follow up with her?
I'll follow up with her on your behalf and let you know, hey, Sam, John came through today and this is what they thought about the house, good luck.
Because not all buyers tell their agents they're going to open houses.
Right.
They're like 3 days later, I went to an open house. I really liked it. I want to make an offer. Why didn't you tell me 3 days ago? So
So have them sign in with their agent saying, they said, no, I don't need to sign in, I have an agent. That's okay, sign your agent's name next to yours.
Mhm.
Listen, it's the same way when you walk into a store and you're just looking. You don't want to be bombarded with salespeople because you're just looking, or on a car lot, like, I just wanna look at the fun cars, don't bother me. Like, if I go to Shoney, I just wanna look at the Urises, I don't really wanna bother. They probably not
they're gonna
me
bother.
anyway.
you.
In any case, that's a thing with no, put on the brakes, I don't want you, so like, what you say is I have an agent, go ahead, Ash.
Something else, don't be afraid to, if it goes under contract prior to the open
Good point,
house,
yes.
because we had one last night. Short of notice, we still went through with the open house. It's in this market, it's great to capture buyers and any backups.
Mhm.
That's right, thank you,
And
yeah.
bring samples of similar ones, if, just to let them know.
That's a good idea.
And that's another point too, bring your iPad or whatever, and you can be, I know someone who does a really good job of searching the area and other like properties, and then letting people know it's not just this home that I can sell you something else, and by the way, there's one around the corner that actually does have a finished basement. Just be careful with the seller, they want to know that you're there to sell their house and not to promote, so don't be walking in with flyers of 25 other listings and let them see that. So yeah.
Yeah.
But anything else, let's talk to you for a few minutes, if we're running out of time, of after, what are you doing with the leads?
I was gonna pull up one thing, so I just give them resources, like, they don't want to hear from you happy St. Patrick's Day, they want your resources. So like, I send them my lending resource. Hey, here's a name of a few local lenders that I highly recommend. So that's one of my touches, is telling them about the lender. And then I will send them another text a couple days later. Hey, just wanted to follow up again to see if you had any questions. I just send them resources, as many as you can, afterwards.
Yeah, and I don't let it go very long. So like if the open is Sunday, Monday, they're getting a call from me. Hey, we met at the open house at 123 Main Street yesterday. I know that wasn't the one for you. Is there any other information I can get for you? We talked about you didn't have a lender. I'm gonna follow this up with a text of a lender that you can call and get pre-approved. And then if I don't hear back, that's fine. They're getting a call Friday. Hey, just following up, I left your voicemail. And
If they're not responding to call,
then I'll
Text
move to text, and then if they don't respond to the text, I move to email. And then, but when they engage, that's the way I engage them.
mhm,
So like, if they're only contacting me through my Boomtown app, then I'm just contacting them through Boomtown. If they don't like the Boomtown app, and they want to call me on my cell, then that's how I'm engaging. But it's always on their terms, the communication.
yeah. And one of my main goals is for anyone who is engaging with you, get them set up on their own search. So that's when I'm like, okay, I did it. I got a lead. I know I've been successful because I got them set up on a search. And even if they're not pre-approved, it doesn't matter. Get them on a search, because once they start looking at homes, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to see that house. We'll go get pre-approved and we can go see it. So that's my end goal is to get them on a search and then
Always
close the
set
deal.
someone up in a search. You know their criteria, they came to that
Yeah.
open house, and if you
Mhm.
talk to them, you know what they liked and what they didn't
Yeah.
like. You've got their name and email address, why not just set them up on a search anyway?
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that in Boomtown, if you're in the Boomtown group, you can do it in Command, or you can do it just on the MLS, so it doesn't matter what, but that they're getting emails. Here's another little thing too, sending, and I say this and I don't practice what I preach with this, but I need to get more comfortable with video, I just can't stand watching myself on video. But with that said, there's something called BombBomb videos, do you guys know what that is? It's a service you have to pay for, so why not just video yourself a text thanking them for coming to the open house? So you can quickly in the kitchen just do one. And then send it to everybody as a thank you for coming to the open house, rather than just a text, a quick little video thanking them from the kitchen. You can film it before you even start the open house, and then you just start, before you even walk out the door, or when you get in your car, send. So they haven't even gotten home yet, and they're already getting a text video message from you, thank you for coming to the open house.
And like, don't be afraid to learn, like, if you're not getting anything out of the open houses, then what's the problem?
Right.
Like the first 3 open houses I did for different agents, I don't think I even got a lead. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing wrong, Jeff? So then I started asking agents. And like, that's one thing that I've built a lot of success on, is like my ability to go talk to, the Mucci team, the Guthrie group, and like finding out where's their success. And then building that relationship so that I can learn, because like what I was doing wasn't working. So I had to change what I was doing. And then it worked out. Like I started doing open houses and I started getting leads, and like it wasn't just clunkers, or not clunkers, but bad open houses.
And I like that, because a limiting belief would be this: open houses aren't for me.
Mhm.
Or no one gets result from open houses. Nobody comes to open houses. I never can get a buyer from an open house. That's not true. There are plenty of very successful agents that will tell you that that's the one column on their GPS is just open houses. So definitely can. Any other comments before I swap?
It might not happen right away either. Maybe it'll happen in 3 months, 6
Mhm.
months, but you don't know unless you nurture them.
Being
So,
successful in real estate requires consistency.
Mhm.
It's consistency and acting, but it's the consistency part of it that's gonna get you there. Thank you,
And
guys.
yeah,
Go ahead.
I
finish.
was saying, you're working on your own scripts as you're going through open houses, and like the first one, you're really new and you're green, you're not sure. Like you think about what you're saying, and then like you'll work on your scripts through it. So
And good point, because all of you should, if you don't, have a scripting partner, an accountability partner, and that's one that you can be scripting,
Mhm.
is how to talk to people at open house.
Sweet. Any
Thanks,
questions?
guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead, let me just get in here so I can.
Real quick, the opens that I've done, and maybe I've been doing them wrong, but I've taken the MLS sheet.
Mhm.
That way I have the year it
Yeah.
was built, any other, but I always take a stack of those.
Mhm.
2. would
Yeah,
be an addition
so do
to
I.
that.
Mhm.
Is that-
Yep,
am
I do
doing
that
it,
too.
or is
Oh, I
that-
think so.
Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Okay.
you need to know some stuff.
What
It
you would
gives
give
them
them at a normal showing.
They were out when you walk into an open house. I mean, I used to.
I mean, here's the thing too, to know. One, and I think I taught a class a few weeks ago about this. One of the things we're gonna start seeing again with listings that we've gotten away from is feature sheets. We've stopped doing feature sheets because they sell before we can print the feature sheets and get there. You're not gonna print the feature sheets until you have the house listed. So that would be like a feature sheet kind of a thing. So agents who didn't want to spend money on feature sheets would print out the MLS sheet and leave those on the counter for like even agents when they walk in to grab. We stopped doing that though, because by the time you can deliver them, the house is sold. Don't rely on the listing agent to have theirs set out. But yeah, I would bring that synopsis report so I can at a quick glance
Yeah.
look through it for myself, and that could be something that you also pass out too.
Okay.
So, all right, let me get on here and log us out. Anybody on Zoom have any questions? Let me do stop here. I stopped. All right, anybody on Zoom have any questions before we go?
I have one,
Go ahead.
one last one. The first open house I ever did,
Mhm.
which was past fall. Someone, and maybe this is just let it go, but I had one agent come through who was older than me and probably super experienced, and she was very bossy. And when she came in, she was like, no, they're not signing. And I'm like, oh, the owner just would
Yeah.
request that anyone who's viewing the house, just like what you coached
Yeah.
us to do. And she was like, no, here's my card. And I remember I was just like, oh my gosh,
Okay.
like, should we just let that go?
Yeah,
The people were looking around,
Sure.
they ignored me, and then someone else who came in with them started talking to me then, and then it was like, they started talking to me a little, but they still
yeah.
didn't.
Just ask
sign.
the agent. Do you mind signing in then?
Yeah,
And
after that.
They
like,
assume that they gave you
it
their
was
card,
super
so
nasty.
I wouldn't, here's the thing about that, people are rude, but also this. I'm gonna say since the agent went, it's probably because they've been burnt in the past by clients who went to open houses, signed in,
Yeah.
and then they wanted to make an offer on that house and they lost out on a $5,000 commission last week, and that's
Yes.
why she's there.
Okay.
So you
yeah.
have to understand there's some experience that's happened, which has led to this situation, and it might not even be anything to do with you or that.
Okay.
house. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's fine.
So
I
that's
just wanted,
why
like,
I would let it go
Okay.
is, yeah, no problem. If you're here representing them, it's
Yeah.
fine.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I
All
just
right,
write
guys.
like that person's name down and with the client, just so I can, when I give the feedback
Mhm.
to the seller, hey, you have this many people.
Mhm.
right.
And for new people, it was great for me. I did another one with you one time.
Mhm.
And that was super helpful, just to see how you handle things. He's very professional. It was good for me to watch him.
And you get ideas from looking at what other people are doing. I like this, I don't like that. That makes me feel comfortable. I'm sure I can do that. Kind of a thing. So if all else fails and you don't want to go out there, I'm sure if you go on YouTube, there's 800 agents who post theirself doing open houses.
Mhm.
Like there's plenty of ways we can figure out what we like and how we feel we are that you can learn from than just winging it. So.
Yeah.
All right, guys,
You just have to-
thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.